Good evening. There was a couple streams that like didn't work for some reason. So if there's like multiple ones, you're in the right one if you're in this one. So Raptors, huge win, first week of the season against the Milwaukee Bucks, who wow, we got to get into how they look because this is the second Bucks game I've watched, but we'll get into that. Um, More importantly, the offense just explodes, and for big portions of this game, it was like zero point 0.5 meant deciding to exploit Dame in zero point 0.5 seconds because he was horrible on offense tonight, and I'm on defense tonight, and on offense, like him and Giannis. I mean, it's gonna take a little bit, I guess, for them to click, but yeah, it's looking pretty ugly from what I've seen. And this game was interesting because it started, so many of these games for the Raptors this year have started out like they come out like guns a-blazing. Like tonight they hit 3 quick threes, and you just kind of expect that it's going to revert. Now I did think the bench, like Malachi and the bench, they slowed down a bit. Malachi, I think, and it still ended up being a minus in this game somehow, along with Grady. But in general, it didn't derail the game like it had before. And potentially you can maybe put that on Milwaukee's bench as well. I mean, they've got not a ton of depth on this team, even closing out the game once Giannis and Dame were, Agent Griffin just said, fuck it, we're down by 25. We're not going to burn you guys. Lose your losses. They've got like Marjon Beauchamp, Raptor Legend Campaign, Crowder, Pat Connaughton, who's not really the Pat Connaughton of old. And I thought Robin Lopez looked very slow tonight. I mean, last year he was like almost DPOY and splashing threes, and this season he just looked really slow. And I thought Giannis just looked frustrated. I thought Dame looked frustrated. I thought Adrian looked very frustrated. There wasn't a single player on the Bucks who, maybe Beasley hitting, I think he hit 5 or 6 threes. But on defense, he's not giving you a whole lot. There was just nothing really happening on the Bucks that you could get excited for. And it's like I kept waiting for it. I kept waiting for some, like Dame hit a step back 3, I think at the start of the fourth quarter. And I was kind of like, whoa. Like it reminded me of Anthony Edwards hitting that step back 3 in the fourth quarter in game 1, where it's like, whoa, that was really nice. And that's like the Dame I'm used to, or that's the Ant I'm used to. But where has that been like this game? And it's crazy. Like Dennis just absolutely torched Dame in this game on the eye test, on the box score. Like so many of the Raptors offense was just like Dennis getting into the paint and like just getting past Dame. I mean, Dennis is fast. Like you can't really take that away from him. Obviously, out of all of Dennis's like skills, that's probably the one that's the most consistent, is like speed, first step, getting past people. But he was just like, there's a video of a cat at like a grocery store register just like laying there while people put their groceries over, and that's what Dame was looking like. Like he was so easy to beat. And then the Bucks on defense just kind of looked lost because they were getting beat on the perimeter so much. And then Lopez is just like, it just didn't feel like he had, like it didn't feel like a Gobert or even like an Andre Drummond at times. Like it just didn't have a ton of rim protection. And I thought Giannis just looked not disinterested, but just kind of like deflated. Like he just looked off. Like the vibes on the team were like fucked. I mean, they took a challenge like in the first quarter off a Grady Dick charge, which was really funny. And it was just kind of like, okay, I guess this is the vibes for this game. I'm just here at a Christmas market behind us here. It's November now, so I guess it's Christmas season, according to the corporations. Yeah, Raptors 31 points in the first quarter. I feel like that's what they were going into the half with in these other games. So it was like, whoa, they got 31 points. And we got Yak really recovered. He had been looking really sluggish, and he was sick in the summer, so I kind of did preface that last time talking about it, but like, yeah, he looked more back to his like normal form, especially like early on in the game. I thought he was just like really dominant and not destroying Brook Lopez, but definitely seemed to have like an advantage against Brook Lopez in terms of rebounding, in terms of playmaking. Raptors were getting a lot of kind of like offensive rebounds and tips and stuff. Really didn't seem like the Bucks' size at any point in this game was a problem for the Raptors, which is weird because we've seen them struggle against like Vucevic, Drummond, Cat, Ayton. Like, I mean, like Brogdon and Ayton were way scarier than Dame and Giannis, which is crazy. And I honestly thought they were pretty bad in the – Dame was good in the first game, but I thought Giannis had a really bad first game, and then Dame had a really bad second game. So, I mean, it's obviously like this first week of the season. We got a CFL podcast happened in the second quarter. I love those when it's a live game. The players are playing basketball live, the thing that we're all tuning in to see. We already got the commercials. We already got the pregame show. We got the, Jack likes to complain about how everything is on your cell phone nowadays. Everything's digital. And then he's in a cell phone ad, and that's great. And on the broadcast, we get an extension of that where we have a fucking like podcast during the game with the CFL player who I don't know. But they do this like every once in a while. I guess TSN has an interest in the Argonauts. I guess people still watch the CFL. But yeah, we get Otto Porter checking in finally. McDaniels hadn't gotten a bucket. He didn't get in a minute in this game. I don't know what the situation is like with that, but he didn't see any of this game, and Otto did and got a bucket like within the first couple of minutes. He had already outscored McDaniels on the season. So, and his three, he only hit six threes last year, so I haven't seen a ton of his threes, but it almost looked like it had a higher degree of difficulty. Like he was kind of fading off going right, which as a right-handed dribbler, I usually think is harder, but it was really smooth with it. And, it switched right in. He had a couple really good offensive like tips and rebounds, and he was really active. And, I really liked what I saw from him, and hopefully you can play him, this much, at least somewhat consistently. I mean, tomorrow is a back-to-back, so I don't really know what the bench lineups will look like. Gary, kind of a rough night. He had a really nice pump fake at one point against Lopez. It was like, because so many of his floaters and runners are these like off balance, galloping, one foot, in front of the other, going sideways, and then just kind of falling over. So getting that pump fake up, Lopez bit on it, and then he just went under and got the easy layup. So hopefully see more of that. And Dame goes 2 for 8 in the first half, and Giannis had 2 points in the first half, and they didn't get a ton in the third quarter. And then by the pretty much middle fourth, they were sitting on the bench. So just not a good game from Milwaukee. And they've been like one of the worst defenses in the league, but when your defense and your offense is not showing up, and I mean, I made a point last game that maybe the Raptors are going to be a team that plays the better teams better. I mean, those teams are frustrating, but a lot of sports teams seem to be that way, where one of the worst teams in the league, like the Blazers or projected worst teams in the league, comes in. There's not that same effort, but then, the Bucks come in, who for whatever reason, if it's history, if it's just getting up for the game, if it's maybe a unique matchup in some way, psychological, the Raptors always do seem to play the Bucks well. Even that game where they shot last year, where they went like 1 for their first 29, they still came back and got that into overtime somehow. I think that only could have happened against the Bucks. So yeah, the Raptors and the Bucks, the Raptors seem to always play the Bucks kind of well, and Giannis doesn't ever seem to have his like monster games against the Raptors. I don't really know why either, because like if he's getting that call on OG, which he was, like, why don't just do that every time? Give it to Giannis, have him knock OG over, get the foul call, and go. And I guess he doesn't have the free throw in his bag, but like in a perfect world, you would just do that every single time, because OG is just like standing there and Giannis just like bowls him over. And we got to review that, and we got to look at, was this, oh, I don't know, argue this. And I don't know, to me it just looks like a guy running another guy over. I don't know, but the feet being planted or whatever. But I think if you're getting away with that, you got to keep hitting that over and over again. I don't need Marchand Beauchamp doing stuff on the perimeter. I just give it to Giannis and just knock everybody over. But the free throw is still like he's like the right-handed Campaign. Like when Campaign takes a three or a shot, like his elbow, it's like, do you have to get it that far in? And Giannis on his free throws, it's like it's so odd looking. And there's an incredible video, I forget who put it up, it's on YouTube, but like Giannis's shot over the years, and when he first got into the league, like his jumper was a lot smoother than it is, and now it's very, and you see it on the free throws, it's just like, it's so aggressive, it's so catapulty, it's so like mechanical. It looks like just this mechanical, like, and he's just kind of like whipping the ball in the basket. And I think he's so used to force and knocking over guys like OG and dominating at the rim that it's like, when he takes free throws or outside shots, he didn't have a ton of outside shots this game. I think he's learning that, especially now with Dame there. But Dame didn't even really cook from the outside either. I'm like, it was weird. I was kind of expecting like to juice the offense a bit. Like, it was so sluggish. It was so dead. Like, where's the Dame pull up three from deep game in this thing? Like, even if it's not the best shot in the offense, again, like, I don't understand Chris Middleton on this team. If you've got Dame as one of the worst defenders in the league, why is Chris Middleton there? I mean, I guess they weren't planning for Dame. It was Giannis being like really kind of borderline personality disorder-ish, being like, if you don't do this, I'm leaving, but I'm not really leaving, but you don't really have to do this, but you do. But if you don't, I might leave and I might not stay, and you have to win a championship. And if we're not going to win a championship, then I'm going to leave, but I'm not requesting a trade. I'm not signing the extension. It's just, I don't know. Some people think it's really cool. I think it's kind of weird, but yeah, I mean, you're going to take a huge hit on defense, and with Brook Lopez looking 30-40% slower than he did last season, that's going to be, and then you've got Beasley, Middleton, Marshawn Beauchamp, Pat Connaughton. Like, I mean, Bobby Portis is, I guess, a pretty good defender. Jay Crowder, I don't know, but I think this team's really going to struggle with defense. I mean, the Raptors were the 30th ranked. The Raptors were getting, what was the half court stats, 77 points per 100 possessions or something. They hadn't scored, other than that Bulls overtime game, they hadn't scored 100 points in regulation, and now they're like 130 points today. I mean, so the third quarter, I guess I got a little bit, I maybe got a little bit worried. Start of the third quarter, I thought it was a little slow. They didn't take a three for the first like 4 or 5 minutes, and I was kind of like, the things that kind of got them to this point, they seemed to stop doing a little bit. And then they just remember, oh yeah, Damian Lillard is on the floor. Whoever is on Damian Lillard and the perimeter can drive past him and then kick it out, get an open look, or take a floater. And if a bigger guy is on him and gets switched with him on the post, you just shoot over him because he's like a little bit taller than me. So really, like, they and you know, it's kind of like you know, when you see like a band, you know, you want to see the hits, you want them to play the hits, just do the hits. Like, sometimes you don't have to overthink it, just do the hits. And tonight the hit was wherever Damian Lillard was, 0.5 seconds, go over there. And it wasn't like, you know, ugly either a lot of the time. Like, there was some really creative switches that they were doing. They were cutting to create these kind of mismatches with Dame. And yeah, if you got Dame on you, it was kind of like, you know, go do your, you know, if you're smaller than him, outmaneuver him with speed, and if you're bigger than him, just shoot over top of his head. We got a little Dennis. Yeah, Dennis got in a little skirmish. Dennis was all over the place in this game. I'll look at the box score in a sec, but like tons of assists, tons of rebounds, shooting big shots down the stretch. Like, he looked like FIBA Dennis tonight. And I thought that, yes, you know, Malachi was only a -2 in a like 30-point win. But, it wasn't as big of a drop off as it had been before. Still had a couple turnovers. I don't know what his turnover rate is now. It's probably about the same, because I think he had 2 or 3 turnovers tonight. So might still be hovering around that 37% mark. I don't know. But that didn't really seem to matter. There at no point in this game, really, like a bit there at the beginning of the third, it was kind of like, but like at no point in this game, like basketball, I put out a tweet saying like old hoops is the foul baiting the three now. Like, that's old hoops now. Like, that's the old head thing now, is like what Dame did tonight, what DeMar did, and what Dame did a bunch in the Sixers game as well, like the pump fake and then the jumping into the guy. That's the new like old school basketball. But new school basketball is all about runs. And like at no point did the Bucks, I don't think the Bucks went on like a 10-2 run at any point in this game. Like there was just nothing consecutive. And again, it's like, I don't understand. Like the refs are giving you that call, OG with Giannis. Like all Giannis has to do is knock him over. And I gotta watch the tape again. Maybe there was some creative stuff with how they collapsed and with like Jakob. Precious wasn't in this game, so at center. Again, like the Raptors' only centers in this game are Chris Boucher, who's not as big as most centers, and Jakob Poeltl, who played good tonight. But it's like the Raptors are not overwhelming with size, and you've got Brook Lopez and Giannis, and I don't understand how Giannis isn't just driving a car through the paint every single time if you're going to get those calls, because some of those calls against OG were just like, my goodness. Let's look at the let's take a look at the box score quickly here. What do we got? Man, the what's funny about this, and like it almost kind of checks out, like the bench plus minus is better. Like A Green, Beauchamp, Livingston, Thanasis, these guys had better plus minuses. I mean, obviously they're coming in different parts of the game, but like the Bucks starting lineup, Beasley minus 23, Lillard minus 26, Lopez minus 22, Middleton minus 13, Giannis minus 10. Giannis only had 16 in this game, 16 points, and Dame had 15. So they're combining for 31 points. Yeah, I mean, it's like you want to, it's a good game for the Raptors, obviously, because of how bad they've looked, but the bigger story is almost like how bad the Bucks were tonight. Like I just thought they were horrible and they weren't hitting their shots. Yeah, I mean, the media has already talked about it. Like this team does have championship aspirations, and they've had a few games here where they've just not looked good. And you've got this really weird situation with this first year coach, who we all know, Adrian Griffin. Shouts to his son, AJ Griffin, who has a very interesting worldview and Twitter account. But, I mean, you had the whole Terry Stotts incident, and that kind of reeked to me as, like, maybe not insecurity, but there's something weird where, like, he really wants this power, and I think he maybe feels like he's already kind of, under the microscope. And with a team like this and with a guy like Giannis, who he might not request a trade, but he likes to do this whole... That's why I almost respect James. I respect James Harden more because he's just so... He'll hit you over the head with it. Giannis is going to do this whole, like, I'm a nice guy and I love this city and, like, I'm really whatever. Whereas Harden is just like, yeah, get me the fuck out of here. Daryl Morey's a liar. I'm never talking to you again. I don't know. They just like, life is short. Yeah, for the Raptors side, Pascal Siakam I thought was really good in this game. And what I really liked about Pascal, especially because we talked about this, is like he didn't fade throughout the game. He had 26 points and he was 9 for 13, so efficient game too. And he wasn't, like, down the stretch, he was hitting threes. He was taking good shots. Like, he wasn't fading into the background down the stretch of the game. And I thought that, his aggression helps. He was really good on defense too. And like his aggression kind of helped the Bucks just never go on any kind of run. I thought he had a really good game. OG, OG 7 for 7. That's pretty incredible. I didn't notice him a ton on this game except on defense. Obviously, I thought he did a really good job on Giannis. I mean, a few calls were like kind of shitty, and then Scottie did a really good job on Giannis too. And maybe the highlight of this, maybe a Raptor moment video is near the end of the game where like OG has the weird foul against Giannis, and then Scottie just like takes it right at Giannis. It was a lot more, majestic than what Giannis did, but it was kind of that same thing where he went downhill at Giannis, stalled a little bit, kind of got Giannis to move or kind of just hesitate, and then he just went up and scored. And the next possession down, this was right after the OG foul. Next possession down, Scottie took Giannis, And I don't think he did anything different than what OG did. Just what you do against Giannis, you have to it's like going up against a bear. You have to make yourself as big as possible, put your hands up as high as you can, and defend your ground and stand your ground. And he did that against Giannis in the post, and Giannis did not score, and he was kind of flapping and flailing. And I think it was pretty much the next play down that Adrian Griffin was just like, all right, like, Dame, Giannis, like, we're down by 25. It's not happening. And took him out. And I thought that was kind of like, that was such a death blow. That was a really good kind of, what do you call it? Not interference. Yeah, we'll call it that. An interference of the vibes from Scottie, where in this game, it didn't really require Scottie so much to have to go out and get 12 points in a row at any point. Like, the Raptors offense was humming enough that it wasn't like, oh, okay, like, he has to go do this. And I think everybody kind of played more in the flow. They weren't, and a big part of that is, the facilitating that Dennis did, because, I mean, how many assists did Dennis have tonight? We gotta look at the box score for that. Dennis threw there 11 assists tonight. And Pascal Siakam 7 assists tonight. So interesting that. Yeah, okay, so Dennis 11, Pascal 7, and Scottie 5 assists. So, like, that's what, 23 assists between those three guys in your starting lineup. Like, that's pretty good. Pretty good. And as a gift from tonight, and I was kind of wondering this because down the stretch of the game, the Bucks just kind of gave up and were like, we're just going to play Marchand Beauchamp. And the Raptors kept, Siakam was out there. I think OG was out there. But none of the Raptors played crazy minutes. Like, Siakam 33 minutes leads the team. Like, because you got a back-to-back, doubleheader. OG only played 25 minutes, and then the rest of the starters played 29. So you didn't really gas the guys up too much. Like, hopefully they'll be in a better place mentally. I think last time Dennis said that the last time they played the Sixers on the back-to-back, which is hilarious that they get two back-to-back games against the Sixers where they're the ones on the back-to-back. But I think this game, it won't be a situation where they're going to bed at 3 a.m. So, and they didn't, and they had played overtime the day before. So, and they only lost by 7 in that game. So, and no OG. So, like, I don't know, maybe tomorrow the energy from this game carries over into tomorrow. I could just see, based on logistics, a better outcome than last time. And it's kind of funny, it's a little bit of we've had like the Nick Nurse tour so far. Everything about it, I just realized this, like Chris Finch, game 1 Timberwolves. We're gonna have Nick twice. We just had Griffin. I mean, I don't think Nate's his name. Where is Nate Bjorgen, by the way? I know Nick took Thick Luka. I haven't seen Trevor Gleason anywhere. Where are those guys at? I'm also going to go back to reading the chats again. I'm just doing this for the World Series because I don't trust you guys to not spoil the game for me. And I'm really into the World Series. There's one team I love, one team I hate. So it's very, I'm very into it. But anyways, this game, man, like, what did they shoot? They shot 15 for 38 from 3, 40%. That's not going to happen every night. But last game they were 4 for 29. So, I mean, you'll take that. And I mean, the Bucks didn't shoot horribly from 3. I mean, at first they did, but the end of the game, 13 for 34, 38%. They just couldn't get any like flow into anything. Like, they're, holy fuck, man. Looking at their assists from the starters, Giannis 2 assists, Chris 0 assists, Lopez 0 assists, Lillard 6 assists, Beasley 0 assists. Their starters had a total 8 assists when Dennis, Scottie, and Pascal had 23. So, I mean, it was a fucking slog. They played like the Bucks tonight look like the Raptors against the Blazers. It's kind of like, it's almost the same thing, but like in an inverse. I mean, they were horrible. Like, I've watched a lot of bad basketball, but that was really bad offense. And I mean, I don't know if the defense was, like, the offense to me was more noticeably bad than the defense even. Maybe that's because I'm not intelligent, but this team, man, like, what did Dame shoot tonight? Dame had 9 shots. Giannis had 11 shots. They combined for 20 shots. Are you kidding me? That is insane. Can someone? I need a fact check, a stat check. Damian Lillard. I know everybody made a huge deal about Pascal only taking 8 shots a couple of games ago. When is the last time that Damian Lillard took 9 shots in a basketball game? 31 minutes, 9 shots. I mean, Middleton had more shots than him. Beasley has more shots than him. They only took 76 shots. The Raptors took 91 shots. Like, the Bucks were so bad in this game. I mean, man, 76 shots. I don't know what the average is, but that doesn't sound like a lot. And they went 46% from the field, which like is bad, but it's not historically bad. I think it's just the amount of shots that they did. I don't even know how that's possible. How is it possible that Dame and Giannis take 20 shots combined? Like I would rewatch this game just because the Raptors did well, and I think it'd be a fun one to rewatch. But I want to rewatch this game and really hone in on how Dame and Giannis don't get as many shots. Wow. So yeah, for just to kind of wrap up, the Raptors, I thought Pascal played really well, and he, 7 assists, 6 rebounds, 26 points, plus 22 on the night, 9 for 13, 5 for 8 from 3. So that's huge. I mean, he's been more aggressive with his 3 this year. I think he went 0 for 6 last game, but he's looking to add that more, and on a night like tonight when you go 5 for 8, I mean, damn, that's a tough player to stop with. If he obviously if he's adding this, if this can become a consistent thing, he becomes a lot harder to stop. OG, I didn't notice him a ton on offense tonight. Unfortunately, when I watch these games, sometimes certain players just kind of get not lost, but like you just don't notice them as much when so much is happening. That's why I like to watch games twice. Scottie, 21 points, but didn't have to like do the crazy takeover stuff. His 3 continues to look really smooth, especially above the break. It's 4 for 6 from 3. So Pascal and Scottie, 5 for 8 and 4 for 6. What is that? 14, 10 for 4. My math, 9 for 14 from 3 combined. Is my math right on that? I'm stupid, but I think my math is right. Dennis Schroder, 2 for 4 from 3. Grady, 1 for 8. Oh boy. Okay, that's not good. But Grady's been, maybe this is the first, I think this is kind of the first Grady game where you're a bit kind of like, yikes. I think it was the haircut. I made a Grady video today, by the way, if you guys hadn't seen it, where he has his old haircut. So yeah, new Grady haircut maybe affects the 3 a little bit. I preferred the old longer hair, so maybe look into that if you're Grady. But yeah, it was kind of the first game where you go a little bit oof, but I mean, whatever. That's not really a big deal. Gary only got 8 points. I just continue to not really notice Gary a ton, and I don't really know what's up with his shot. Like, he just hasn't been shooting that many threes. He got up 5 tonight. I don't remember what his, like, 5 seems like a lot this year. Like, I feel like last year he was shooting 7 or 8 a game, and yeah, going 0 for 5 was tough, and it's tough to. It's a shitty. I mean, if you've played sports, you've been there where like the whole team plays well, but you just kind of played shitty. I mean, it's good that you get the win, but that is like a bad feeling. It's kind of like you're like the one guy who, I'm not gonna. Grady's a rookie, it's just like 3rd game, but yeah, when you're that one guy that just didn't really. Boucher is another guy I didn't really notice too much in this one. Have to like rewatch it. Only 2 for 4. He was a -10 though, so I guess there were Boucher -10. I don't know if that was just him coming in the end, but like there were a couple of the bench lineups with like Grady, Malachi that were a little bit. But again, like I said, the Bucks bench was. I mean, the Bucks bench. Like, who are we talking about here? We're talking about Thanasis, Liv- Livingston. I apologize to his family, but I don't know who Chris Livingston is. I didn't before tonight. Not familiar with Chris Livingston, but he was there. A. Jackson Jr., Thanasis Antetokounmpo, Marshawn Beauchamp. Like, this is a championship. This is a team with championship aspirations. And the bench on this team had a difficult night, but ironically, the starters with a much worse plus minus overall. And that's probably the main story here, outside of the Raptors offense exploding finally and getting 130 points, which they had not cracked 100 in regulation. So just that is like a huge victory in and of itself, to get the 130, and then to also have Giannis and Dame just like stink up the arena. I mean, they were playing like Jakob was last game. This really was like an inverse of the Trailblazers game. So gonna give the Anvil Award again to Thad. You know, he's still not getting in on the feast. You know, maybe throw him in at the end of a game or whatever. Give him a taste. You know, Garrett Temple got the 3-minute taste. Maybe give Thad a little taste. Tony Wonder Award, I'm gonna give that to Dennis Schroder, man. I mean, he's had flashes of this FIBA Dennis, but tonight it was really in full effect. Like, I thought that he was the most dominant player on the floor tonight, just on eye test. 24 points, 11 assists, 4 rebounds, like, even had a steal, you know? So 9 for 13, efficient. He wasn't I just can't believe how much he outplayed Dame in this game. Like, that's just insane to me. I mean, Bob, obviously you're not this is a nephew take. You're not basing trades and stuff on one game, but Bobby watching courtside, watching Dame, the guy that they you know, it's like last game when you got Malcolm Brogdon, the guy that you seemingly almost got, comes in and cooks you. It's not a great feeling. But just in a short-term, petty nephew kind of way, when the guy that you apparently, according to Bobby, were going to give the biggest trade. What did he say was his quote? He's like, one of the biggest trade would have been one of the biggest trades in like franchise history or something. And the guy comes into your stadium a week later and puts up a 4 for 9, minus 26, like, and then Dennis, the guy you bring in, is like he's back in fucking FIBA, like he's him and Windhorst in Jakarta or whatever, like, or where, no, the Canada was more in no, they were in Jakarta. Windhorst was in Manila, but yeah, no, he was, yeah, really, really impressive. He's kind of been like, there's all the, like, a lot of the touch stats and stuff and kind of time of possession are showing, you know, that Dennis has I would say probably a bigger role than I think a lot of people would have guessed. Like, I think a lot of folks, like, in the summer were kind of saying that maybe Dennis comes off the bench. Dennis is like the second unit guy, that, you know, the 6-man type that you bring in. That's what he did in OKC. That's what he's done in, I think he was a runner-up 6-man of the year, won 6-man of the year. I think he was runner-up, but he's obviously been in that role before. But in a game like tonight, and, you know, the Bucks defense is, I mean, Dame Lillard, I don't know, like, but on a night like tonight, I mean, it looks really good. And, but I mean, of course, as with FIBA, you know, these are not the premier best defenders in the world, and Damian Lillard is not the premier defender in the world. So you do, I think, have to take this with a bit of a grain of salt, but at the same time, with how the Raptors had been trending, it is nice to see this from them, and it's really nice to see them get up for the bigger team. It's unfortunate and it's silly sometimes. Like, I think everybody at any level of sports is like guilty sometimes. Like, I mean, remember even as a kid, like, you'd see teams on the schedule and you'd be like, okay, whatever. And there's other games where it's like, okay, we're playing the Bucks. Like, you just think about it more the day before. You work out a little bit harder or whatever. Not that I've ever been in a position to work out playing a sport, but you know what I mean. Like, when you play for the community level, you lose 8 more minutes of sleep when you play the Bucks and when you play the Blazers, and I think that stuff just kind of accumulates. And they were just, they were just ready to go right from the hop. And I thought that like Pascal was kind of a metaphor for the team, because it seems like, I just thought of this right now. This is brilliant. He's not actually, but he's kind of been a barometer of the team in a way, because it's like he's been coming out strong in the beginning, scoring buckets, getting most of his points in the fourth quarter, and then, you know, fading as the game goes along, and then in the fourth quarter really kind of taking a step back. And that's kind of what the Raptors offense has done. And I'm not saying that the offense, you know, dies or lives and dies with Pascal, but obviously he's a big part of it. But I think he's just kind of a metaphor for how the bigger picture has looked. And in a game like tonight, he did not fade at all, like at any point in the game. And I mean, you know, it's like in baseball, if you're up, you know, 5 runs or whatever, and you come in as a pitcher, it's a lot easier. It's a lot less stressful. It's a lot easier when you're up by 20 or whatever points. But, you know, it's still the Milwaukee Bucks. You're still coming off a stinker. You still got Adrian Griffin, who I need to watch this game again, but like, I don't know. I thought he maybe would have planned some stuff a little bit better. It just felt like the Raptors offense was too easy at times. And obviously, like, it's going to be, man, talk about an adjustment. The adjustment from going from the Raptors roster to the Bucks roster with defense, like, that's going to be an adjustment, I guess, for Nick as well. Because, yeah, the Bucks, the defense, like, I mean, you've got Dame and Beasley as your backcourt. It's this team, the team construct for me. I mean, I'm not a predictions person, but I would have invested more in defense. If you've got Dame and Giannis, you know, Middleton, for example, it's like, it just, I don't know. It seems to be like a risky strategy for me. And I think you're just going to have to hope in a lot of these games, from what I've seen and from what I've seen, you know, with Bucks teams in the past and with Dame in the past. Like, I think there are going to be games, especially in the playoffs, where they're going to need Dame to just do this, to the fucking logo threes. Like, just, all right. Like, and again, tonight, the two things I don't understand from this game, where are the Dame threes? Like, I mean, I'm sure the defense on Dame was great, but still, if you're Dame, you got to get up more than 4 threes in a game. That's 1 per quarter. That's wild. And if you're the coaching staff, like, more, I don't know if it's more screening or more ball movement, but you better find a way to get Dame more than 4 threes a game. And I mean, it goes to Dame as well. He's culpable in this too, obviously. But man, I mean, the Dame Giannis thing tonight did not look sexy. And there's going to be, if this does not correct itself, like, it's way different than the Raptors. If the Raptors take 2 or 3 months to correct itself, I mean, you know, it's first-year coach on a team that's not chosen by, like, anyone to contend. I think, you know, the front office isn't going to say it out loud, but I think everybody kind of knows, like, what's up. The Bucks are a very different situation, very, 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 very different situation. And if this behavior continues, I don't know, man. And like I said at the top, like, the Terry Stotts thing is just weird to me. I know Bucks, I guess Bucks people weren't really defending it or, like, saying it was kind of normal, but I mean, that's kind of weird. Like, it just is just weird. And to me, that just signals that, like, there's a lot of fucking pressure here. There's a lot of people that are maybe not acting as they would if they were a lot more comfortable. So, yeah, as someone who kind of follows the whole NBA, I'm very interested to see how that goes. Raptors, just kind of wrapping up here. Big win. I mean, it's got to feel like a bit of a relief, because, I mean, having the because it's so, you know, it's so, not that I'm sure they're not, like, you know, into the whole, like, on Basketball Reference and stuff and looking up, like, VORP and shit. But, I mean, everybody kind of knows that for the last few games, at least, like, the Raptors offense has been operating at, like, an embarrassingly low clip. And I think that can kind of, like, that has psychological manifestations when game time comes. And I think that kind of shit can get into your head, and players would probably never admit that. But I think coming off of a game like this, if you can turn it into, a little bit of momentum, and you've got, again, if this is going to be a team, not that I'm, coining this trend, but if you look at it, like the Wolves are supposed to be, a lot of people have them at the top. Like the Raptors came out and beat the Wolves first game, and then it was the Bulls who seem to always, Bulls always seem to play them well. They lose against the Blazers. I mean, the Sixers were a good team, but like if this is going to be a team that at least gets up for the good teams, and like I said before, they only lost by 7 against the Sixers. They went to bed at 3 a.m. They're on overtime on a back-to-back, and no OG. So I think tomorrow is going to be a bit of a tell on that. Maybe like, is this going to be a pattern to look out for, where you're scheduling and maybe getting a little, not revenge on Nick, but yeah, basically that. I think that's gonna be it. They talk about how the campaign. Wow, Pat Connaughton played 23 minutes tonight. He had 2 shots. This bench, man, just looking at some of these bench numbers, like this is a box score to look at. I'm telling you, like I don't usually like box scores that much, but like I keep going back to this box score and just finding things that are like, because like you got to remember they only took 76 shots in the whole game, so they're like all these dudes off of the bench who played like 20 minutes who took 2 shots or like 5 shots. Jay Crowder only took 5 shots in 25 minutes. I mean, I guess that's kind of normal, but I mean, they're kind of like, they can't really, I don't know how they get more depth either. I mean, if you, the only thing they're really going to, or only person that seems like super tradable is Middleton, but he's on a restriction. He only played 17 minutes tonight. Like he got up 10 shots in 17 minutes. So he was looking to be aggressive in his time on the floor, but like he's on a minutes restriction because of health, and he's getting up there in age too. So like, do you do the, like, you trade one player for the 25, 50 cents on the dollar to get more depth, but like how, kind of like what they need. I feel like what this team needs to do is just like pay Rob Pelinka a fuckload of money to come in and do whatever he did for the Lakers last trade deadline, because this team I'm not going to judge the Dame Giannis experiment or experience. The Dame Giannis experience sounds cool. I'm not going to judge that yet, but looking from what I've seen so far, I think that like now that because before you had Holiday, it's not completely different team, but it's a different looking team. And now that you have this different looking team, a lot of these pieces, they might not work exactly as you would kind of hope, especially going into playoffs. So I'm interested to, like, I think the Bucks, are people talking about this? Bucks low key one of those teams to look out for like trades and stuff, because when you've got Giannis and Dame, there's no excuse. Like you can't, if both those players are healthy, and you're not, like it's Giannis and Dame. Like you got those 2 guys on your team. There's no way that you can sell anything less than like a 3 seed. Like you cannot sell that to the fans, to the locker room, to management, ownership. Like you got those 2 guys, the expectations are through the roof. Like maybe you don't necessarily have to go 72-9 and be the number 1 seed, but like you cannot be putting up performances like this. And this is not at all the first time they've done this year. So I think you could tell Adrian Griffin, I've made some videos before where I've featured Adrian Griffin for a little bit, and he has this, I made a clip and he didn't blink for like 28 seconds. And someone commented like, he just looks like Vietnam, like war PTSD sometimes. And today in the game, like he's got the hand behind the back and he's holding his wrist and he's just pacing up and down that line. And he got into it with the refs a little bit, but like man looks very stressed. And I would imagine, I mean, Jack alluded to it as well. Like, I think Jack was right. I mean, they sit right there, they can tell. And I don't feel like Jack usually does like editorial on this kind of stuff, especially with coaches, but he was like, man, that's going to be a tense, tough locker room to be in at halftime, because Jack's obviously been a coach before. And if you've ever played, and from what we've heard with Adrian Griffin and Terry Stotts, like, it was a screaming match. So I think Adrian has that in his bag, and it's never fun as a player to go into those situations. So I don't know if that's going to motivate them or scare them. I don't know what Bud was like. Bud seemed like I don't know. I'm just conjecture. Bud seemed like the guy who would just be like, screaming at the refs, or not even screaming, but just like, he's hard to even describe. Like, he just almost like a drunken, like lust for some reaction from the refs, not even so much anger. But then it just seemed like the type of guy who in the locker room would more so just kind of be like, all right, guys, like, we got to trust the systems in place and the processes in place. And Giannis, you're going to play 27 minutes. And it's crazy. Like, even with Giannis playing like 27, I think it was like 31 minutes a game. Even with that, and Middleton, like, they were the number 1 seed for a long ass time. So again, you cannot go super far into the season with Dame and Giannis and not achieve those same results. Like, not even talking playoffs yet. I mean, maybe winning the in-season tournament, maybe that could bolster things. But yeah, Raptors win 130-111, and that's going to be it, folks. Going to go watch the World Series. Fingers crossed. Fingers fucking crossed. I did put out a Grady Dick video today. If you haven't seen it, go check that out. Grady Dick Sky.